So if you'd like to just sit for a moment, I don't normally sit like this at start this a moment, I know, but sit for a moment so you can see the screen. I want you to just use that image as a little focus for a moment. So if you found a comfortable place to be on the floor and find that connection to the floor so that your spine is comfortable. If you want to sit on a cushion or a block or something, just to start slightly differently with this image to look at. So normally when we see forget-me-nots, it's this blue cloud, loads of lovely, pretty vague blueness. But when you take the time to look at one, I'm going to hide the bee at the moment, to just look at the one flower and let your focus from the sitting on the ground, there's your touch sense, let the visual focus be looking at just that one flower and what beauty there is. Don't need to analyze it or know what it is or anything, but just to let your visual focus be on that one flower. And just be curious as to what you see, the shapes, the petals, and the colours. And then take your perception of what you can see out to the cluster. There's a cluster of them. So each one is slightly different. It's a lovely thing to do when you do go out in nature, just to see the whole carpet, the general view of the flowers, but also to take a moment to look at the individual beauty of what appear to be the simplest of flowers or leaves or anything that just grabs your attention. But each one of those is subtly different. And then this is comparatively how complex that is as your visual focus. So again, don't worry what it is, just look at all the components of that being on earth. And it's got quite a different life than the flower. But just to look at that, look at the flower with that focus. And then rest your eyes. So let the senses pick up the touch again of the ground, how you're meeting the ground, your sense of gravity, being held by gravity on the earth, and you are between the earth and the sky. And if your hands have not needed to hold you up, bring the hands into the heart center. So you're just resting here a moment with your base of you on the ground, the base of your spine, and the crown up to the sky. So a little nod of the head, a little yes and no of the head on the spine, and then a little movement round, slowly circling the head round and the other way to locate this point at the top of the spine on which the skull sits. And it's sort of between your ears, behind your eyes, and let that be where you imagine that's where the crown of you is, up to the sky, that your skull above it is like a crown that you're wearing, the base on the ground and the center in the middle. So you've got that perception of you in space, held by gravity on the earth, with all that space up and around you. And then rest the hands down. We're going to make our way up in a moment. Let the eyes see that image again. And then I'll take that away while we make our way to standing. So if you make your way up, but notice how you do it. It's no rush. Just going to take that lovely image away so that we can see each other as we normally do. Okay, let's just tip that just a little bit. So our standing Tadasana. We're a human held by gravity on the earth again, but a different bit of you touching the ground. So spread the weight onto your toes, onto your heels, the outside edges and the inside edges. So don't bow the knees in, let that support. You can feel the difference when you're up on the toes, back on one heel at a time, the outside edge, rooting that down. And there's this perception of a connection all the way up then from what you're rooting with all the way up to support your body. There's lovely fascial connections all the way round and through and all the way through the body. So you're just becoming aware and strengthening them. And when you put the inside edges from the inside of the heel and the toe, but you may feel where it is that you're really awakening that connection of that part of your foot up through the body to support you. And then spread the weight over the whole pair of feet. Balance the pelvis so that is a like a box. And imagine your head at the top. If you dropped your head, it would fit into the pelvic bowl. But there's a spine in the way. And then I've got this lovely image at the moment of a jack-in-a-box. So if you imagine your spine is holding the head up on top, but it's above the box. And how is it? It's an interesting inquiry, just to feel how it is. So that the reason this is called a mountain pose is that you're rooted, you're not going anywhere, you've got a broad base up to this peak at the top, but it's solid and stable. But actually it's also original name of how it is. So this moment now, how is it? It's not good or bad, it's just what it is. And it's not yesterday and it's not tomorrow, it's now. And then bring your hands back to the heart center, which brings you into the middle, into your heart center. And we'll take the arms out to the side so that they're out and up. And notice how it feels. And this beautiful connection, simple mindfulness of as you're moving bits of your body, how your breath responds to that. And this is such an obvious one, but as you take the arms out and wide, and then rest down. And then bow forward with the hands on the thighs, so you take them down towards the knees, little pause, and stretch the toes out so that the arches can raise, the heels are firmly on the floor, the legs are firmly upright, but you can tip your box forward so the spring goes down and the head can hang off the bottom. Hands can reach the ground if they want, but it's a lovely perception now. How is it upside down? What's normally up is down. The crown of your head is now at the bottom. You're still breathing, and any of you that have had colds and bugs, as soon as you tip yourself very slightly, boy, are you aware of the difference of how everything is circulating in your head and the blocked channels. So to make your way up, the box is going to come flat again using the leg muscles, so the head and the spine follow up on their own, and they sit back up on the top again and back to the middle. And then wide legs. So we're going to go from the heart center up and wide, and just pause here at this star shape. So just like that flower that you could see at the beginning, there's a heart center and the radiating out, and we've got 5 petals here, just like that did. So there's all this beautiful outsideness, but that flower is what it is. It doesn't do all this changing. It comes out, flowers, the bees love it because it's an open, simple flower shape. We're in the middle, but we can play and move. We've got more possibilities. So let's go up to the top and down, and then reverse it, going up to the top and out. So this is so good for keeping the muscles moving, the lymph shifting, the armpits, leg pits open, keeping your immunity strong to fight all these little invaders that are around at the moment. But let your mind connect to it. This is the beauty. This is the yoga. This is the yoking your mind to the movement and the moment. And then hands down the legs this time, so they're going to go wide out towards the feet. They might find the floor again. It's different. How is it to have a wide, very broad sort of dog pose? And rest the spine. So the crown of your head, it is this top of the spine. And so what we might consider the very top of our skull is in the same direction, but it's letting all of that spine be tail up, the crown of your head down, and the head is loose. You can shake it and do all that turning we just did up on the top. And how it is then to use the leg muscles to tip your pelvic box, to let the spine come up, the head comes back up, woo, bouncy, bouncy, back up on top, and back to the middle. And splitting the legs that way was all quite symmetrical. I split them this way. Mirror me if you want, or left and right if you'd rather. I've got left forward, but I've been watching some of the things in the ones I've been doing, and I actually quite like to mirror the person on the screen. So if we do that, coming up and wide, but this time, rest the hands on your back, fold them in, their wings on your back, so you can tip forward halfway to begin with, so that you adjust the feet, like we do with any standing forward bend. And maybe you could tip your pelvic box further, and you get a different stretch, different feeling. You're a bird looking down at the water. So it's an inversion of the spine, just the same, but a different feeling in the supporting legs. When you're ready, use the legs to bring the pelvic bowl up, bend the front knee, arms wide, up to the top, and come back down. Stay there a moment and take the arms wide and revolving. So we're going to do this in other postures, but revolving one way, how it is, and then the other way. It's different. Doesn't mean to say one is better or easier, it's just different, isn't it? With the leg forward and back. When we did this with wide legs separate, it doesn't feel it. Just to notice the feeling. And swap the legs over. So I've now got the right forward, but if you want to mirror me. So starting at the middle, going up to the top. Rest, fold your wings on your back. It's the whole shoulder joints moving. The palms come together on the back, or whichever part of your hands find each other, to connect at the back behind the heart. You can tip forward with no support of the hands now, just the legs, forward with the spine, and then even more of a tip so that you'll feel the stretch in the supporting legs, but you can get your crown of your head further towards the earth. And make your way up again, arms out to the side. And that rotation then, interestingly, the way that you went first time, how far round do you go? Doesn't matter. It's just interesting to feel how it is when you're reversing things. And coming up, and then the wide leg and the symmetry. When you've got the legs side by side, it's similar both ways, isn't it? It's a lovely thing to do. Blowing in the wind. And coming up. Oh. So let's do our preparation for sun salutation. So that is just a nice thing on its own. I've been doing this outside whenever it's at all suitable weather. It's just gorgeous to do it now this time of year. So you're standing on the earth, between earth and sky, gravity down through you. Remind yourself of the centre, and then pierce the space above you and explore it out to the side, bowing forward and invert. One leg back, come up into a first warrior, just to come straight up to it. Step forward into the forward bend again, you're inverted. Other leg back, first warrior, so you've got your bent knee, up and forward and over. And widen up. So we'll do the full version together, just that we've got it, and then we'll do that with other things as well. So assuming you now want to put your hands on the ground and do a bit more, but if you don't, just that a few times is lovely. Wide, half forward, fully forward, whichever leg back, that knee to the ground so that you come up. Very similar, but different, interesting. And then as you go forward, instead of on two legs, you can have four down. So spread the weight evenly over the four. Your crown is down, your tail is up. And then fold the legs so that you're folding the knees to the ground, the tops of the feet to the ground, onto the elbows, and let yourself settle here just a moment. It's quite nice also to change things subtly each time. On our way to child's pose, you can put the head to the ground, but what's also quite nice is to cup your hands and let your head rest in your hands. And then let the crown be the one that goes up to the top, so the hands go forward enough to be supportive. The hands are going to support the shoulders to allow the heart to come through and lift up and shine forward. Crown of your head goes up. Not throwing the head back, it's the crown of your head, the top of the spine, that's what's going up. And then the crown goes down and the tail goes up. And the leg that went back comes forward. So the left knee on the ground and up. And this mindfulness can be whatever. So if you let your mind be in your body, oh, that's an interesting feeling I'm getting there, which I may not have done before. You're in that moment of feeling that. Change the posture, standing forward bend, and you'll be in the moment of feeling somewhere different. And as you come widen up, you may feel what's happening in the body, or if that's not happening, just what's happening to your breath. And then pause. So we've done half a round. Rest the eyes, rest the body, held by gravity. How is it? And then play again on the other side. So heart into the centre. There's this 3 point of feet to the ground, hands to the heart, crown up to the sky. And then we'll explore that space above with the fingertips wide, half forward, fully forward. Other leg goes back, knee down. If you want to do the feet changing, it's quite nice to do this each time, or if it, depending how many rounds you're doing. I like to change the feet so the tops of the feet are on the ground this time. Feels subtly different. Stretch and open up and greet the sun, salute it. Thank you very much. I'm looking up at a light bulb, not the sun at the moment. I'm sure you all are. Forward and over. So invert yourself on 4 legs. This time come to the knees, so the tops of the feet can go down. And when you come through to the up face dog posture, it's the crown of our head up. The top of your spine goes up, the tail goes down. And if you've got the tops of the feet down, you might find that you don't need the knees. You're just on the tops of the feet and the hands. So it's a nice opening of the ankles, which you can then change. So it's the soles of the feet come down, tail up, crown down. That leg comes forward, knee down, tops of the toes down if you wanted to do that. Keeps the feet alive and stretched and open and aware. Opening to the sun again, thank you very much. Bowing over, this time as a human on 2 legs. And then wide to greet the day, scoop up that energy. And come back to where you started. Rest the eyes, rest everything onto your feet. This sense of gravity through you from the crown, the top of your spine, the head's balanced on top, through the central channel of the spine, and then splits down to 2 legs, to 2 feet. How is it? You notice how it is in yourself. I always love that feeling of fizziness, that energy's been whizzing round, loving it, on a racetrack. I'm sure everybody feels it subtly different. Depends on the time of year. I always sometimes think of it like, oh, little Christmas tree lights have come on everywhere. Energy's plugged into them. So let's move subtly differently for that. So the one outside again, doing these warriors without going down, let's just do that together first. So if we're standing, arms up, we start from an inversion in that dancing warrior. Wide, half forward, fully forward, and back with the right foot, and come straight up to the first warrior, so that you're straight up to it. So it doesn't involve a mat or touching the ground or anything, this version. And then rotate the spine and the shoulders, but keep the pelvis forward and the knee forward, so that you come into our second warrior. But the box, the head could come down to the pelvic box again, the jack in the box. You just rotated the spine. And then tip the body, so you're going to have the fingers going opposite way instead of out horizontally now. 1 up, 1 down. Open the left side. And then tip yourself forward and over, so you can stack from the foot to the knee, to the elbow, to the shoulder. Rotate the spine so you look up to the sky. Scoop the hand down. And you get a lovely side flank. And if you're doing this outside, you get a lovely view of the sky outside or in your room. Keep that hand drawing the sun all the way round, back to second warrior. And then first warrior sets you square again. And a standing forward bend with an inversion. And then it's going to be the left foot back. Come straight up to the first warrior. Both feet are evenly supporting your weight. Pelvic box, the bowl box, is down. I'm only using the same box because as if you imagine the head could just rest down into the pelvis. And the spring of the spine of the jack in the box in the middle. And then the rotation to keep the knee forward, the pelvis forward, as you let the spine revolve into the second warrior. Notice as adaptations happened in your structure underneath to let you do that. And then the hands are going diagonally now, so 1 up, 1 down, forward, 1 up. Which bit of you is more open and is more fully open and able to breathe? That's that right side. And then stack from the foot to the elbow to the shoulder so that you revolve with a nice supported structure. Let the hands scoop down, lovely movement for the shoulder. Long stretch on the other side. Draw the sun all the way around, back to the second warrior. Square yourself to the first. And forward and over. And widen up. And down. And just like we did the dogs, the sun salutation with or without the dog poses, we can do that warrior with or without the dog poses. And then you can put the whole two together, and we'll do all that when we meet outside again. So if we start up to the side so that I can see you as I turn. So up to the top, wide, forward bend, standing on two legs, and then a forward bend on four, so it's the dog pose. So this posture can get to be lovely. Make it really comfortable here. It is the rest before you start and in the middle and before you do a bit more. So you've got 4 feet, 4 joints. And if you spread your load between the 2 shoulders, the 2 pelvic halves, on the 2 hands, the 2 feet, so the spine in the middle is loving it. Tail at the top, the crown, the top of the spine is at the bottom. And you're breathing happily. And then we'll make it a 3-legged dog, so shift your weight over to the left foot, so the right one goes up in the sky. That foot's up in the sky, the other one's on the earth. Swing it all the way through so it comes to the earth, up to the first warrior. And the second. And the sun warrior, so the palm up. Moving the arms. Forward bending, resting on the knee. Draw the sun. Scoop. And over the top to the second. Squaring yourself for the first, so the shoulders and the pelvis is all forward. And then down to the ground on 4 limbs, but with a horizontal body. So on the knees if you'd rather, or straight if you're happy. And then a back bend, so the up face dog posture. And then the rest of the down face dog. And find the rest, just as we do with Tadasana and Shavasana. Find the rest in this posture because it's interesting. It's gorgeous to rest the spine upside down. And to spread the load over 2 halves of you, forward and back, and the left and right halves. So this time the left foot goes up in the air, opposite to the right foot, they're really far apart. Swing it through so they're both on the ground then. Both supporting you evenly to come up and have the body the right way up now. And the body the right way up revolved, open-hearted, tipping, half up, half down, tipping forward, so you've got a different half down, scooping down, so you've got the other half at the top. It's all very balanced for the body. Second warrior, first warrior. Feel where your body is in space and how gravity is holding you down. And we're changing it now very much so that all 4 feet are on the floor, the body's horizontal. And then crown up, tail down. Tail up, crown down. So you can do that round as many times as you like. It's quite fun just to do a few rounds and you'll feel it different each round. And when you've done enough, it's a lovely thing to come right down to the ground again, knees, tops of the toes. So you've constructed this different orientation of your legs on the ground. I think it's quite nice to come to the elbows first so that you really let the tail of the spine release out, the top of the spine release forward, and then however you want the head to come to the ground. So I've just been playing with different ways. Obviously direct to the ground is lovely, but sometimes it's quite nice to add a new flavour. If the hands are happy and you don't need them, they can come back with the feet. And feel how you meet the ground with the backs of your hands and the tops of your feet and the front of your head. And come to that awareness of your spine. Where the crown is, where the tail is, and that lovely curve of the spine, opening you at the back. And how when you know you're safe, you're nesting, you're resting down, that the mind doesn't need to do anything else, so it can just enjoy following the breath. It's such a treat. So feel how it is there, and then as we change from there to come up to kneeling, come up onto your tops of the feet and the knees to sit on the heels, so that there's this different connection now of the bottom onto the heels and the tops of the toes spreading. So here you can probably notice that all 5 can spread. Do the same with your fingers. Let the backs of the hands be on the ground. It's really quite an odd thing to let the backs of the hands be on the ground, that you're spreading the back and the knuckles at the back, and how it then turn them over and they meet the ground. That's just more usual, isn't it, for the soles of the feet and the soles of the hands to be on the ground. But it's good to turn everything, let the connections, let gravity go through your hands and stretching open. So you've got the soles of the feet and the hands up to the sky. Just an interesting little diversion there. And then to change something subtly and use the blocks if you want them and need them. Hero pose is such a nice thing to do after all that standing work, is rotate the thigh in its socket, the thigh bone, the femur bone in its socket, release each knee so that you're not twisting in the knee. The thigh and the knee are still in line. It's the socket that took the twist. There's a subtle movement of the knee joint, but it's not a nasty one. But the tops of your toes can be on the floor here, and I keep saying it to everybody, is maybe put a bit more support than you think you need to begin with, so that you're happy in it. You're not forcing open the ankle joints, that the toes can meet the ground and spread. And there's a kindness through you, which then when you'll breathe more comfortably, you relax all of you, and you'll find that actually, I can maybe have a lesser block if I want to, but it doesn't matter. It's not what size block you use, or if or not you don't. It's a kindness to the body to move the joint in a different way, and then find that gravity through you. So how's the box? How's the jack in a box? Where's the head on its spring? So here's a symmetrical twist coming up, but you want a happy, lengthened, resting spine. So if you keep the eyes closed, it'll slow you down. Have some support on one side of you and allow the twist to go the other way, so that you revolve round. The whole spine revolves on its axis, and you'll feel it in a different place. You may not feel it in the lumbar or the thoracic. Most times we'll feel it around the neck, because that's what often gets tight. Holding this heavy head up, not resting down the spine. But this is a lovely way to release it. So it doesn't matter where you're looking. The skull is on the top of the spine and the whole spine is revolving. But the beauty of what's happening in your ribs when we do these revolves. So this is a symmetrical revolve now. You might notice that one side feels quite different to the other. Let your awareness be in the left and right sides of the ribs as well. Coming back to the centre and just feel how it is. Hopefully it feels a bit wonky, or you're aware of a difference of the two sides, only wonky meaning not symmetrical, not normal. It's good to play with it. Then go around the other way. I mean, open the eyes if you want to, but if you're happy to keep them closed, you don't need to balance here. Allowing yourself to revolve the other way, so the other side is the support, you revolve away from the support to go round, round, round. This gravity down you, the plumb line, you're revolving on your axis. Take your awareness to the ribs now, how it is on each side, top and bottom, and the left and the right of the ribs. So the diaphragm is still doing its tightening and relaxing, which draws in the air and expels the air. But it's having a nice twisting, ringing. It's all of you. Come back to the middle. So nicest way, I think, to come out of that is completely turn your world upside down. Spring open these legs, invite the hands to help out, and tip yourself upside down, which of course is what we know as the down face dog posture. But what you're doing, you're finding the soles of the hands, the soles of the feet, your tail's at the top, your head's at the bottom. Ah, that's nice, that's interesting. How that can be a rest. Spreading the weight over all four and all four joints. And then finding your bottom to the ground. Just going to tip my screen a bit. Sorry, it's quite dark. I have got two lights on, but it's not as light as I'd like it to be. So if I can bring that one forward a bit more. So when we're sitting down, the sitting bones meet the floor. Let your box be here, and the head could rest down into the box, and wherever you put your feet. Baddha Konasana is a good symmetrical place to put them, in contrast to the hero. And I know we've done lots of these postures lots of times, but each time is a new moment. It's a new day. Feel how it is. And when your body has done these postures with awareness, it's got this lovely memory that you can return to without instruction. Your body will instruct itself then as to what it is you want or need or whatever at the moment. So let yourself be in this, seating on the ground, different bit of your foot on the ground now. Just be here a moment with the symmetry, top and bottom, left and right, and what we might consider the right way up. So a forward bend from here is always a lovely way to ease out. Lots of us, I do like this posture, well I like all of them as you know, but particularly this what seems to be my body's asking me to do this now, so you can all be with me. Tipping forward, and the hands and the feet all find each other, but none of them are weight bearing. Your rest is spread the weight over your two sitting bones and your edges of the feet. But these hands and feet and toes and fingers can all say hello to each other and give yourself a little stroke, little massage of the feet if you like. And the spine is having a lovely opening at the back like it does in child's pose, but quite different what's happening underneath. Be quite stable here. Coming up, we're going to do the balance down here because we didn't do any standing balances in this one. So appropriately we're going to do a boat pose. So you're upright now because you've got the legs supported here. If you just took your legs off, it would be quite an interesting thing to balance on just the sitting bones, wouldn't it? But we have got legs. So, well, we all here do. I know people that don't. So when we've got legs, we're going to counterbalance them with the weight of the body. And it's this feeling of gravity. How is it? So at the moment when you're upright, there's the legs. When you start to take these away, and I always love the analogy of sailing, that you've got the ropes out to the side at the moment, and slowly, you're releasing the ropes, you're releasing any other support, including these legs, these big warps, and you can remove them. So you're balancing the body with the legs, but the centre point has moved. Your centre of gravity is now not through your head, it's the centre down to your toe bones, your sitting bones, sorry. This awareness of how's this balance, how's this working? You have put the different parts of yourself equally balanced so that you're stable in the moment. Come back to rest again. So one at a time, going high. How's that stretch? You can do that. Send the heels away. That's the stretch away with the legs. It's nice to do it with a cross hand. Do it with the same hand. And it becomes what we do in the standing balances or the happy baby on the ground, but doing it here is interesting to allow the leg to stretch away. The heels are going away. And then with the other one. Just play with the feet going up to the sky, which they don't often get the chance to do. But it's a lovely thing to play with the hand and the feet finding each other and this little half heron twist. The beautiful mindful part of this practice is that, well, that's interesting. I've done something different with the same bones, same bits of me, but oh, that's curious, that's interesting. Just enjoy the feeling and breathe through it. So, when they both come off, you could hold them both, and they could both go up together, or you can come up more slowly with them going more parallel. To find that balance, it's just an interesting thing to play with. How is it? Yeah, little boat down here, putting sails up. Ooh, That's interesting. It affects your balance. When you're really happy in the balance here, these can be the gunnels of the boat. So where's the mast? Interesting where your balance point is, your centre of gravity. But breathing's interesting. Breathing in it. Don't hold the breath, come out of it when you're ready. And it may be an interesting thing, if you know you've got space behind you and you're going to roll over, it doesn't matter that you've got space to capsize, whether I will or not. But that happy baby idea, we've had it with one foot out, to play with both. How is this little boat when the hands and the feet find each other? Ooh, just an interesting play. How's this balance? What are you having to use to keep the balance and explore where you go? A coracle. I think that's a coracle boat. It feels a bit more inelegant, but it's good fun. So let's do something very asymmetrical. We've got time, yep. So wide-legged. Always think of this as toddlers. Think of toddlers. So you've got nice wide legs. So if you allow your hand to come round to the foot on one leg, over to the one on the other, you're exploring the lengths of yourself. You just had the hands and the feet finding each other just then. Over each side. Keep the hand on one side then, and let the other hand float up to the sky. And down, and let the other one fold over and find the sky. And then come up to the middle, and a rotation both ways. Now when we did it standing, how it is, isn't it interesting when you haven't got that adaptability of the roots, this how it feels differently, doing this seated on the floor, this lovely twisty flicky. But when you're doing it standing on the floor, the legs get involved and the whole of you is responding. But here, you're stumpy down on the ground. But it's just an interesting observation. So bringing one leg in, one leg out. Let's go forward through the middle first. Different than that butterfly pose when the hands and the feet all found each other. We're going forward through the middle. Coming up and going forward over the straight leg. So there's no rush to do it. It's a sort of lift up at the top from the rooted at the bottom, and a lovely spacious spine turns towards that straight leg and then rests towards it. So the head can rest towards the knee. Might not rest on the knee yet, but if we had longer, in a longer session sometime, where you play with it on your own, it's a really interesting thing to take your time in a posture and really explore it. Any posture. And this is one I've found particularly interesting because it feels like you're miles away head from the knee, but with a lot of conscious breathing and time and not rushing, not panicking, slowly, this release happens in the body. And the head gets a little bit closer to kiss the knee, maybe. Enjoy what's happening. It's not a judgment as whether you can or can't do it. It's just enjoying being in the moment, this curiosity and play and being in the moment, literally. There's the feeling you get now. Come out of the posture, up to the top, hands up to the top again, and then twist away from that knee. It's a different feeling when you put the back of the head towards the knee. So one hand finds the foot, one hand's up in the air, and the back of the head is going towards the knee, not necessarily on it. But it's a different perception of where you are in space. That's your outside perception. But your interoception, what's the feeling inside? And coming out of it. So find some symmetry in the middle. Baddha Konasana. This is like our rest in the middle. Just be, and you might notice the difference of the two sides, although we did a reverse twist and a same twist on the one side. Just be in the middle for a moment. That amazing symmetry, balance of your body now, head on top of the spine. A little slight, sometimes I find just that tuck of the chin, not aggressively, but the chin going towards your throat. You can just explore that where the head sits on top of the spine. And release something maybe in the neck and the shoulders, and let the shoulders rest down away from the ears. We spend a lot of time hunched up, our shoulders. It doesn't make any difference to what we're doing and achieving. Let and rest. Take the weight off, take the boulders off your rucksack. When you're ready, we'll explore the other side. So the other leg's going out straight, the other leg's coming in just because it can. You can do this with both legs out wide, you can do it all different ways. I'm just playing with this today. So if we go through the middle first, like we did on the other side, how's this? It's interesting, how are you meeting the ground? What bits of you are on the earth? And where's the sky now? From the back of your body, the back of your head, even your feet are different. And we'll come up and we'll rotate towards the leg. So it's nice when the arms lift up because it just lifts your upper body consciously away from the lower body to make it a nice spacious spine. That's what the spine loves, is having space between the joints and energy can flow freely up and down. So as you go forward, head towards the knee, hands find the leg or the foot, whatever. What's your gesture, the posture you've made now? It's not an animal or a tree or a mountain or anything. It doesn't have an animal similarity, this one. It's just called head to knee. But in thinking of your head going towards the knee, that's interesting in itself. But where in the body? So the outside perception of this posture is the head towards the knee. But what's the inside feeling? When that's enough, that concept of contentment, coming up, enough exploration, we're going up and revolving the other way. So the revolution is going the other direction, and then the tip over, so one hand towards the foot, one hand up to the sky. So you've made a different shape in the back of the head going towards the knee, that general direction. How you would be perceived on the outside, not that anybody's looking and matters, but how do you feel on the inside? That awareness of, oh, that's interesting. And the breath, out and in. So that diaphragm, again, in these revolves, having a lovely little twist and play, which will enhance your breathing generally. Coming back to the middle, and legs out straight, upright. And then find whatever comfortable seating position you want. So I like to lead you into Sukhasana this way because it's very easy to come into collapsible seated posture. So this constructs it quite nicely, like all the other postures. You've got 2 sitting bones, 2 feet, but we're going to change where the feet are. So one underneath with one little toe edge, one with another little toe edge. And it's a bit more constructed so that you've decided that's where I'm putting myself. How is the Jack in a Box? Could the head rest down into the spine? And so the lovely spine, gosh, I mean, we do need to look after it. And there's a lovely expression of you're as young as your spine is flexible. And you look at an older person, somebody I met in the village actually, said her brother was 89. There's no way I'd have believed it. He used to be in the TA, he was always been active, he still does press-ups in the morning, and 15 minutes of his exercises. And it was visible in his body. He's kept it moving and flexible, and he's not stiffened up. And it was beautiful to see. So this happy spine now is resting with gravity. Down at the bottom, at its natural tail, but the crown of your head. And think of it between the ears, behind the eyes. It's the top of the spine. So I wanted to remind you of this balancing of the breath before you rest. If you want to rest now, please do, but it was just a reminder of this Nadi Shodhana, and then I'll leave you resting. And I can turn Zoom off so you can rest as long as you like. But if you want to rest now, that's fine, but if you want to join in with this breathing. So you don't have to use the hands. And it's good to be symmetrical and still and balanced upright for a moment. That's why I was talking to you. But when you're learning the concept, it's the idea of you're out of one side and in on the same side, and then you pass the baton of awareness over to the other side and you release out first. You rest, you clean out, and then you refill. Just like you would clean out a cupboard and then refill it. Or we clean out our body and then we refill it in all aspects. So you let it out of one side. So the fingers and the ring finger just allow you to well, it just allows some focus to begin with, but it's a very lovely, gentle practice to do it without the hands, actually. So I'm going to guide you with the fingers. So the ring finger partially blocks the nostril. It doesn't have to fully block it at all, especially if you're at all bunged up, because you might notice, oh goodness, one side is more blocked than the other. So out through the right, and in through the right, and close the right with the thumb. And then pass it over, so exhale through the left, and inhale, and close the left, pass it over, out through the right. And in through the right. Close, out through the left, and in, and close. So keep going. You might want to extend the breath longer, so longer out and in. But keep going, right side, left side, until that feels enough. It's a lovely concept, this santosha of contentment. But it's certainly possible to do it without the fingers, to just let that awareness of one side be, and then the other side be. It's an interesting thing to play with, very balancing on a very subtle level of energy within us, having done lots of body, left and right side, and big balancing, to do the very subtle energy balancing. And then when you feel it's enough, you'll know when it is. That was interesting, that was lovely, that's time now to rest. And to find that rest of the body, however you want to do it. It might be sitting, it might be lying on your front, it might be lying on your back. Traditionally, it's done on your back, and if it is, I think it's always good to keep the feet contacted to begin with, so that your spine gets to settle again. Because it might be you feel, do you know, I just want to do something else here. In a longer practice, it might be a time to do bridge pose and belly twists or shoulder stands. But in this hour we've got together now, we've done lots of moving, so it's time to rest. Please freestyle as you need. And when you're resting, you find the ground with as much of yourself as possible. Spread the shoulder blades, let the pelvic halves balance and level. So you've got your jack-in-a-box on its side now. And lengthen the legs away to begin with, and the arms out at sort of 45 degrees-ish, or wherever's comfortable. And then let the soles of the feet rest, the legs not flop, but rest, so that the soles of the feet go to the sky and the palms of the hands go to the sky. They don't need to be down on the ground now. They can be open to the space above the earth. So the posture is a rest of the body, however you choose to do it, and a rest of the senses. So it is nice to do this sensory awareness exercise of notice each of the senses and then rest them. Because doing that with practice as well, even if you do it when you're out for a walk, just to stop and pause and notice things like the flower we had at the beginning, to really let the sight or the smell or the sound be your focus for a moment. Notice what you can hear. Maybe in your room, outside your room, or what you might be able to hear outside mine. For some mindfulness again. That your mental attention is just on one thing, which is very calming. So the beauty of this pose in so many ways, resting the physical body, but resting the other energy levels within us. That's the grossest of the energy levels, from the physical bones and all the other structures, different densities, different functions, the vessels, the muscles. That's the subtler energy running through us as well. And the mental energy, of course, is hugely influential on us. So to give that a chance to rest as well as the body is a real treat. And then the subtler parts of us become apparent. They get a chance to shine when we rest all the big boys. It's a real kindness to yourself to do both the practice leading up to this, but this posture, particularly in the middle of busy lives. Even if it's only a minute or two, it's still good. But ideally, 10, 20 minutes. I mean, I'm finding turning Zoom off half an hour sometimes. And you can, if you allow the time, it's what you need. And you will come out of it. You won't stay in it forever. But it's a lovely thing to do for yourself. You'll notice as the mind wanders, let it do that. It's not a problem, it's just what it's doing. Body's happily resting. And to just observe what's happening. And what bit of it is us, that's not the body, that's not the mind, that's observing is interesting. But if you want to calm the busyness, let the focus be one of the senses again. Or what's always there. There may not be bird song all the time, may not be lovely things to smell or see, but there's always your breathing. And to follow with full attention. One exhale, go, ah, and a new one magically come in. It's a miracle every time. So I know it's lovely to end the practice with awareness of what you've been doing, how it is for you, and gratitude. And being grateful needs an open mind, an open heart to do it. So stay resting, but be grateful to yourself for doing this for yourself. Is one lovely thing to do. It doesn't matter what it is that you're open to the sense of gratitude for. You're seeing the good and being appreciative of it. It's just interesting to notice when you ask yourself what it is that you feel grateful for, what comes up. So notice how gravity is on yourself when you're here. And then when, as humans, we have this wonderful capacity for making choices. It's a different part of us that can assess the situation and make a choice. It's discernment. So if you are able to and want to stay here longer, that is a gorgeous thing to do for yourself. But if you want to or need to move, do so with awareness and kindness. So you're gently bringing the Jack-in-the-Box back up when you're ready. But I will stay here just a moment and then I'll close the Zoom so that those of you resting, or if you want to use this recording, that you know you can just leave. I'll turn the computer off so you can just stay there and set yourself up so that if you watch the recording, it's a lovely thing to do, to just stay in Shavasana as long as you decide that's enough, I'll come up now. But when you're ready to come up, as you all know, kindly, slowly balance the head, find that center point at the top of the skull, the top of the spine, sorry, that the skull rests on. It's interesting, because we've got the external structures around the neck, we tend to forget where the middle of the spine is and the balance point of the skull. So to find that point through your day, with awareness occasionally, just, bring the chin towards the throat, balance the head on top, and it allows a lot of freedom and space. So I'll say goodbye to you all and close the recording so that those people that are sleeping, resting now can say so, or the recording can do so as well. And Namaste, as this greeting comes into your heart center, and from there honour your energy and those of everyone else that maybe is in your immediate vicinity or out into the wider world. It's that lovely connection of your light, your energy with whoever else or everyone else. It's a nice greeting and concept and attitude. So, namaste, everybody. Thank yourself for coming, and enjoy watching this if you watch it again, or you do